Alright class, welcome back. As I promised before, I'm going to show you how to use a software called neobook 5 Professional. Basically, it's a software that helps you create applications such as what you see here. This I actually have running up at headquarters in a kiosk station, and it's called the Old Guard Portal. Now basically what it does is you're creating a web-like environment. You can also create slideshows with the program, and a couple other things. But let's get started. You notice these buttons here. I actually have commands associated with it, so when you press it, it does something. And in this case, a balloon pops up and tells you to use buttons below. Or I press this button, which is a navigational button, because it tells you to go to another page. These buttons are associated with video. And also what's unique about this is there's a timer on each page. So in other words, if nothing's happening with it, it will automatically go back to this page regardless of where it's at. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's open a new one. Okay, here in your publication, you can choose the size of your publishing. And in this case, I'm choosing 1024 by 768, and my colors is 16 million. And here you can choose the type of publication that you want it to be: screensaver, system tray application, ActiveX control. So in this case, we're just going to leave it as a standard application. Click OK. Okay, we have our blank screen. Let me tell you a little bit about the master page first. This page is not seen in your publication. What it is for is, let's say that I had a publication with 15 pages, and there's going to be some common things to it. Okay, you remember I told you about that timer? Let's click on the timer. So the timer pops up. It judges in milliseconds. So in other words, 1,000 milliseconds is a second. You can up that. Let's go ahead and up it 2,000. And here I have it set at automatically when page is displayed. Or I can do it, wait for timer to start. In this case, I want it to automatically do it. Now, with this timer, I have to assign an action or a command. So in this case, we're going to use the navigational control, and we're going to tell it to go to somewhere. We're going to tell it to return to page. Actually, that's not good enough. We're going to tell it to go to page what? New page. Now, this will actually change once I rename it. So we have our first action. So what's going to happen is this timer, every page that you publish, that timer is going to be there. Such as, let's go to new page. You can see the timer as you're producing this, but the timer will not be visible to your audience when they're actually viewing your publication. So let's go ahead and do a little bit with this first page. We want to rename it. Let's call it index page. Okay, now we need to go back and make sure that the changes took effect on the master page. And it changed. You see that right there? Alright, we're happy with that. So let's go back to our first page. Alright, on the first page, let's go ahead and do some background. So we click on page, go down to page properties. Here we can choose a solid color for our background, a gradient color for our background, or wallpaper. Basically, you can import a file. So in this case, we're going to use Army Wall Image. We're going to tell it to stretch. Alright, we have our background on our first page. You notice when I tried to move this, it doesn't move. Don't worry about that. A way that you can kind of keep it out of your way is clicking it and just stick it up in the corner somewhere so it doesn't distract. Okay, there it is again. Alright, so we did a couple things here. We put a timer on, We did our page background, but I want to do a little bit more than that. So we will go back down to page properties. We will go into actions. Now what I wanted to do when this page comes up, or when they first turn it on, we are going to play a sound file. Okay, we're going to choose Army Strong theme sound. Open it. Okay, this dialog box, you have to define a couple things. Do you want the soundtrack to play when you first open the page and it will only play once, or wait for playback to finish before continuing? In other words, if you had another sound file playing, it will wait until it's done playing and then it will start, or you can have it loop by playing continuously. In this case, we're just going to leave it alone at the default to start playback and continue immediately. Also, when you're adding this kind of stuff in there, you can always test it to make sure that you like it. Okay, we're happy with that. Okay, so what that means is when this page first pops up, let's go into live mode. Okay, what it's basically doing is playing that sound file. Alright, let's do a couple other things. Let's go ahead and put in navigational button. Okay, what do I want this button to look like? So since we're using it as navigational, let's go ahead and just use our next button. And we have to define what commands that button is going to do. In other words, when you push it, what is it going to do? So we insert action. In this case, we're using it as a go-to button. And right now, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So what we need to do, we'll go back in and click it in a minute. Let's go ahead and create a new page. So we add a page. We're going to call this page P-1 for page 1. And you notice up in this dialog box, we can determine where we want that page to start. Do we want to start it before our index page, which is this page, after the index page, or at the end of the publication? In other words, behind all the other pages. In this case, we just want it to start after the index page. So we have our new page. You see the timer up there. Okay, let's go back to our index page. Now we can define where this page is going to go. So we delete that. We insert action. We tell it to go to page. And in this drop down box, you'll see the P1. Or you can have it go backwards. It just depends on, you know, what you want that particular button to do. In this case, it's going to the next page. And we're happy with all that. Okay. Let's go to our next page. Let's go ahead and add some background to it. Oops. Page properties. In this case, I want to do graduate color. Let's choose light green on dark green. Okay, we like that. Again, we could have chosen another image for our background, but in this case, we're just going to use the color. Okay, now on this page, we can do another navigational button. And let's go ahead and choose what it looks like. In this case, we're going to use previous page. But remember, we still have to assign an action to it. So we click into action. And we have to tell it, we can either tell it to go to previous page like this, or we can tell it to go to page, in which case the dialog box will come up. And we can choose index. And what this is really good for is, let's say that halfway through your publication, you want to give them a chance to go back, let's say 7 or 8 pages. By naming your pages, you can specify that page, just like I did with the index. Okay. Let's hit OK. So now we have action on this. Let's go ahead and add a media player. Okay, you don't have to add a media player, but this gives them more on hand. Let's see, let's do this video. Here we told it to stretch video to fit window. We want to click maintain aspect ratio. In other words, if you don't click this, your excuse me, your media file will either be elongated or it would just be disproportionate. So remember, stretch and maintain. And here we have clicked show VCR controls. So we like that. Okay, let's try to straighten it out a little bit so it's not so. I guess we can't get that black out of there. Okay, let's go into live mode and see what we have so far. Okay, there's our wave background. Okay, you notice that's still playing? It's because we forgot to do something. Okay, let's go back to the index page. Double click onto the button. Hit enter. Okay, we need to put another command in there. So we go to multimedia and we choose stop media file. At this point, if I leave this blank, any media that's playing on that page will stop, or if I just wanted one thing to stop, I could actually go in and specify. In this case, we're going to leave it blank. Hit OK. Now also, we want to go back to the master page. We're going to have to adjust the time on the clock. Okay, let's put 5,000 milliseconds. Alright, let's see what our publication looks like now. Okay, there's our sound file. Our navigation button. We can play the film that way. Now I'm going to show you a trick. Alright, let's go back into the publication. Okay, go back into page 1. Let's say that you didn't want this here. Alright, too easy. Let's get rid of that. Now, another way that you can display this kind of things is, let's add a button. Choose the appearance. Let's do resources. Media player button. Okay, but we need to tell it to do something first. Okay, go into actions. Insert multimedia. Play video file. Double click on it. Okay, we're good. Okay, use this setting right here to see how your video is sitting in there. So basically our video would be playing in there. Let's make it smaller. Well, let's go ahead and put it up here. Okay, you can test it. Okay, so we know that we need to narrow that a little bit. Let's test it again. Okay, much better. And then once you're satisfied with that, you hit OK. Now here in these settings, I showed you this before, you could choose start playback and continue immediately. That means when the page first opens. When you push the button, you could tell it to wait to play before something else has finished, or you can play continuously. At this point, we're going to leave our settings just the way they are. Okay, there you see we're telling it to play the video. Okay, let's put it in live mode so you can see how it works. There's our Army Strong theme in the background. Okay, now there's a couple things that we need to do. On your timers, the best way to set your timer for any particular page is go to your one page that has the longest content and set it to work off of that, is the best way to say. In other words, if this movie was 5 minutes long, then that's what I would do with the timer, is set it to be 5 minutes, or in this case I'd probably set it for 7 minutes. Okay, something else neat that you can do is, let's get rid of this. Let's go into page properties, action, play video, okay, again, we want to see how it's sitting on the page. Test it. Okay, we need to take a little bit of this out. Test it again. Okay, we take a little bit more out. Perfect. Okay, hit OK. And again, you have to choose your setting. Start playback, and what that means is as soon as the page is displayed, it will start playing. So let's see how that works. Let's go in live mode. Okay, what happened was I didn't reset my timer, so let's go back. Let's set the timer. And we're going to add a 0. So that actually is now 5 minutes instead of 5 seconds. Let's go into live mode. Hit our navigation button. There's our video. But something's still wrong with the video. So let's go back on that page and find out what's going on with that video. We go into page properties, actions, let's take the video out and re-add it. Let's test it. Okay, we're happy with that. We're just going to leave it at that size for right now. And we want it to play. Let's go into live mode. Okay, what's happening is, here, we can fix this real easy. Let's go to our index page. It has to do with this button and its actions. So, let's take this out. Insert action. We want it to stop media. This time we're going to choose our sound file. So now when you hit that button, it takes you to a new page and it stops that particular sound. So let's see if that resolved the issue. Okay, that took care of it.
No.
Alright, so basically what I showed you is I showed you how to do commands inside the buttons. Neobook is actually a pretty easy program to use. I taught myself a couple years ago on how to do it. It's also got a couple neat things, such as if you did have this running on a computer that had internet access, you can actually add something here to tell it to go to whatever website you want it to go to. In this case, we're doing a standalone unit. So it's pretty easy to use. Let me go ahead and show you how you can insert a picture in here. Let's take this Happy Joe. And you notice right now that what's happening is it's seeing the picture as it's too big. So double click on that, go into Appearance, click into Stretch, Maintain Aspect, and click OK. And there's your guy. Alright, a couple other cool things that you can do. Let's go ahead and add another picture. So we select our picture. Let's select this guy. Okay, again, you got to do the same thing. Appearance, Stretch, Maintain. Okay, here's something neat about this program, is I could tell it to make this color transparent. Nope, didn't do it right. Appearance. See that? That's pretty cool. Also, you know, you're probably going to use other programs associated with neobook. I usually use like Word because I'm a terrible speller. Neobook does have spell check in it, but I find Word is a lot better for correcting grammar errors. Also, I use Adobe Photoshop, and the movies that you use in here, this program, for whatever reason, seems to like MPEGs versus AVIs, and I have still not been able to get the Flash movie to work. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but you know, it is what it is. I showed you about Tog Portal. That was version number 8. Usually your first one, you know, it gets you going, and then you'll find that you didn't like things about it and you start changing things. But you know, the key to it is just do it until you're happy with it. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to compile and publish our project. And there's a couple different things that you can do here. You can publish it as a screensaver, standard application, system tray application, ActiveX controller. We're just going to leave it as a standard application. And then you can decide what you want it to run from. You can run from a hard disk, CD, zip drive, and other. I have no idea what other is. So before you publish it, you have to compile it. Now, while it's compiling, a couple of things. This type of software is actually really good for putting training activities together, such as if you have a lot of videos on how to that you need to get out there for the Joes. This application is really good for putting all those into one place and making them a CD handout. It's just limited to your imagination and the material that you have. Okay, at this point our publication has been compiled. Click this box to run it to see what it looks like. So let's give it a second. Alright, well that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this session, and until next time, this is Professor John, the exhibit guy. Here's looking at you, kid.